that mean to play us out?
Stop the hammering. Who's got a hammer in there?
Who has a hammer? Stop the hammering. Sorry. We've been watching news bloopers, everybody.
Speaking of hammered, I need to get hammered. It's been a long day, Bubba.
This is a family show.
Yeah,
well, my fault. It's not my fault you had to drive that far north.
Not this pre-show banter.
Oh, not this pre-show banter.
Yeah. Yeah, we can say fuck, shit, balls, and cock, too.
Don't. Weird. Someone's watching. All right. Sorry, everybody.
Who's the person watching? Can you see who it is?
I cannot see who it is. They can tell me who they are in the chat, but I can't
say who you are in the chat and say if you're offended that I just said dirty words.
Don't say any. Oh, God, I thought you were going to do it again. Don't do it again.
I should. All right, here we go. You ready?
Don't.
Shut the front door.
Thank you.
I just want to have you scold me for the whole time.
No, I just don't need a bunch of timestamps.
There's no timestamp. We haven't started yet. You go find the start and delete everything before that.
That's true.
I produce a podcast. That's what I do.
Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we discuss Vaporware, handguns that were promised but not delivered. Actually, not just handguns, but as always, we're brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. And please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. There are some awesome the artist-proof renditions coming along with the Patch of the Month patches, stickers, and everything else there. They also have T-shirts, cleaning mats, and everything at the patriotpatch.co website. So check those out. And as always, shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So, Weird, how are you doing?
It has been a long day, buddy.
Yeah, well, I heard you hit the range this week.
I did. I went to the range. That was nice. My daughter was out of town like all week, so that part was good.
So was that the second time this year that you've gone to the range, or?
No, I've gone more than that.
I can't say anything. You've gone more than I have.
Well, I don't know about that.
It was my first full summer of being a homeowner, so yeah, range time was at a premium.
But I was like, oh, I really need to get to the range. And yeah, I was like, I'm texting you. I'm like, it's like gonna be 90. Like, I'm gonna sweat so bad out there. But I went anyway. And I sent you a picture of my sweat.
You're still in the shade though. How is it so hot?
It's just hot.
This is kind of like when you put tin foil over something and you cook it and it's really hot underneath and it cooks it.
I mean, or it's just I would be hotter in the sun, but it's still hot out.
Meh.
It's not like you could like stand underneath a tree and make ice cubes.
Yeah. Okay. So in like 3 months, let's have everybody remember this conversation. When we're talking about the 8 feet of snow that we have on our houses.
It's like 50 degrees outside right now. Like I am so pleased. Like it's so much more comfortable. But yeah, so yeah, took my 1911, took the 617. Gotta take the 617. Also took the Beretta 21A because I just had to. I didn't put much through it, but I just had to. And I was carrying my PM45, and I have a little box. I really probably don't need to do this, but like every time a round goes up the feed ramp, like the third time, I don't put it back in rotation. It just goes in this little box, and then that box goes to the range when it's got however much. And so I had a couple of magazines for the PM45, and let me tell you, after shooting some standard pressure 230 grain ball for my 1911, and then switching over to the 3-inch barreled 45 with plus P ammo. Woo! I had to make sure my earplugs were in right. I'm like, did I forget to put my earplugs in? No, they're in.
Yeah,
It's got
I had somebody somebody talked about their car. They have a car MK40. Listener Devin invited me to the car firearms group. You should go check that out.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were talking. I got to send you something on that, by the way. I'll
Mhm.
put a link in the show notes to the group, but feel free to join if you're a car firearms owner. And he was talking about his MK40, and I was like, dude, that thing must rattle your teeth when you shoot it. Like I had a Glock 27, and that damn near rattled your teeth. With
I shot a P40 once, and that thing was like, that was one of the first times I ever really felt a gun like torque on me. Like that gun just wanted to twist out of my hand.
why does 40 twist? Because
I
I
mean,
have that same experience with a lot of 40s that I shoot.
I think it's not that widest. I think it's just because it's got that sharp recoil curve that you just feel everything it's doing for you, and it's all happening all at once because that bullet's just leaving the gun so quick. So you just notice the twist.
I don't know, not nines, 45s, straight back. But with like 40s, for some reason, it's just, I don't know, they feel like a lot of twist, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, everything twists. It's just a question of how well can you control it. Because I mean, that twist is just the gun trying to not rifle the bullet. It's just the bullet's trying to
And
spin,
everybody
and you want to
perceives
spin the other
recoil
way.
differently too. So
Yeah, but yeah, when you got such a sharp recoil gun as a 40, especially if you've got it like in a subcompact micro ultra light gun, ow.
So you went to the gun shop too, and there were a bunch of guns that you were going to buy for me, but you didn't. So what
It's
the
gonna
hell?
buy for you. Yeah, that's what you want. Is, oh yeah, weird. Send me some mass compliant guns. That'll really make me happy.
Oh, they were all revolvers and stuff, so of course they're mass compliant.
Yeah. Well, there was a bunch of revolvers. Oh, they had I think I remember realizing that they make this, but I'd forgotten about it. Was that Ruger makes a GP 100 in 22, and I was like, oh, that's just. I mean, I got my 617, so I really don't have too much of a desire for a Ruger in the same. But oh, you know what? If you're looking for a 22 revolver, you know what? That 10 shot Ruger is probably not a bad pick. Um, they also had a Smith & Wesson 686 plus, so that's the 7-shot 686 with a 3-inch barrel and laminated wood stocks. And I was like, it was kind of like that, like tan and green colored stocks. I was just like, oh, that is, I may just like leave right now and go buy it.
Why didn't you?
I mean, it's new. It's
Weird.
just,
You know how cool you would have been with a 3-inch 686 and a shoulder holster underneath your Hawaiian shirt.
that would be pretty cool. That would
I mean,
be actually, that would be really cool.
I think tomorrow morning you need to wake up. You need to have yourself a cup of coffee.
Honestly,
stroll yourself over to that shop and buy that.
The one thing that I was really looking at hard was they had the gun that I have quote been looking for, and that was a Smith & Wesson M&P 45. It was a first gen, and they were just asking a bit more than what I was looking to spend, and I mean it's right there. It was a first gen. Like I would definitely have paid that for a second gen. And a little bit less. I that one I may go back.
Weird.
And see if I talk to him.
686 plus 3-inch in a Miami Classic, unfluted. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
come on. Unfluted, no less. Do it just to piss off TJ, please.
I forgot about pissing off TJ.
Oh, and the Miami Classic. I mean, if you can get a good deal on it, use that $100 to buy the Miami Classic shoulder holster. You're all set. Or can you just change out like the shell for your? What do you have for your 1911 shoulder holster?
Yeah, you could just change out the units because it's essentially my shoulder holster is 3 pieces. You've got the actual harness, you've got the holster, and then you've got the accessory. So whether it be a speed loader pouch or magazine carrier, you can put a left-handed holster in there and just carry 2 1911s or two 686s.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, do they have 2?
What's that?
Do they have two in the shop?
Oh, they have two, but one is, I think one is 5 and one is 3.
Well, carry the 3 and then have the 5 in the other one in case they're really far away.
Yeah, and well, I see if I'd have to if they make a vertical one because I need to carry that 5 vertical. But also, actually, the leather's starting to crack at the hinges on my shoulder holster. I think I need to buy a new one. I have had it for like 12 years.
See, so you need they're speaking to you.
I think I might just buy like a totally new one and just keep because the holster body in the mag carrier is still in perfectly good shape. It's
While
just
you're doing it though, just do like the big purchase. Like instead of buying like a little bit at a time and taking the pain every time you buy that little bit, just do it all at once where it hurts only once, and then you're all set.
You're a nasty little devil on my shoulder, Ryan Chad.
I'm hoping that I'm winning.
Oh, I'll probably go back to the shop later on this week.
Yeah. I'll get a text message on Tuesday. You're a bastard.
Well, you are.
Well, so this week for me, the video of the most recent range trip is up. I got some time to post that. There's a link in the show notes. It's on the Facebook page as well as on the YouTube channel. We're shooting the Glock 19, the SIG 226, the 1926 44 Special, the Canic TP9 SA mod 10 million, whatever the hell it is.
By the way, that's also mass compliant. I was like, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I'm like, oh, what's down here on this bottom shelf here? Those are all Janics? What?
The gun shot good. It's just, I don't know. It's just not so. I mean, it's cool. It's a good gun. If you want to go buy a good 9, it's fine. It's a good gun. I don't particularly care for the decocker on the top, but
I would argue against a single action only version because
I would get the What's the double action one called?
I forget. I can look it up if you want me to.
I'll get a text message from Savage. He'll let me know. I'll put it on Facebook. And then also, while he's looking that up, I'm getting ready for big 5-year anniversary party. You may not hear much from me for a few days on the Facebook page, so my apologies if there's a little bit of an absence. My wife has put up with me for 5 years, and I am very, very thankful for that. She's a wonderful woman, so thank you all. And she's also been a big reason that Handgun Radio continues going, because while I'm doing this, she takes care of our kids. And whenever I go out and go to the range, she is a really big part of this show, even though it's in the background and you don't hear much about it. So,
geez, their website's not particularly forthcoming. I mean, there's definitely there's a TP9DA. That's got to be the double action one. And then they've got the SA, but they've got SF, but that looks like it's more of a gamer one.
Unless that one's like the specific model for a district attorney, then yeah, double action. There we go.
Oh, by the way, also one of the reasons why I'm so
moved to the drink segment.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I'm so tired is I went to my cousin's kid's birthday party. I took my daughter there, and she had like so much fun. And but while I was there, I got talking to one of his high school friends, and he is now a Maine guide. And I'm like, oh, will you take me deer hunting? He's like, yeah, get your hunting license. I'll take you deer hunting. So I probably am not going to manage to do it this year, but I think next year I'm gonna kill me a Bambi in southern Maine.
You should go handgun hunting. That's what I handgun hunt. That's what I hunt with.
I first wanted to it's preordained. I need to kill a deer with my FAL.
Weird. You are not. I don't know. All I know is that where I hunt, you're never going to take a shot beyond 100 yards.
I know. And I'm going to do it with an FAL, so I could kill a deer with a quote unquote assault weapon that is in 308. So like,
get some 5-round mags.
I've got a 5-round mag.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, well, of course you do. You're from Massachusetts.
No, I actually own like 10 like 15, 20 round mags and 1.5. And the 5 was the one that I specifically bought for, I might want to hunt a deer with this. And I actually took it to the range and I took it to the range and like loaded up 5. And then there's still some play. I loaded 5 more into it. And it was Midway sent me a 10 round magazine and it's claiming it was a 5. And I just had Wally from York Arms. I think he pinned it so that now it only holds 5.
You need to come up hunting with me.
Yeah, let's do it.
I kind of want to give you like the crappiest rifle I can find and just see how you do.
I have rifles.
Bring your CZ52.
What's that?
Bring your CZ52.
A deer with a CZ52?
He'll probably the deer will probably grab the gun from you and beat you with it and be like, no.
No, it's more of that you'll shoot the deer and that little like 50 grain projectile will pass completely through it. The deer will barely notice and then die a year later of infection.
Oh, what we will do some hunting and we will talk better about it. I have to talk to Chris Rhodes from Bayside Custom because he wants to do a handgun hunting episode again. So we will talk about that. But what is your drink segment?
My drink segment is very, very plain and simple. While my daughter was away, my wife and I went into Boston and we went to Grand 10 Distilling, which is in South Boston. And they make a whole bunch of good stuff. Like I was there to pick up a few things that I had run out of, but we ended up taking the tour, which is always fun. I mean, so first up, if you're going to take a tour of like a craft distillery, this is not a tourist thing. Like it's pretty much, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff. You're not going to see anything that's going to shock you. It's not going to be like, oh, this is how they do that. Everyone all makes their stuff the same way. It's how they make their stuff that's the important thing. And that's what you learn. That's the exciting part is hopefully you'll sit down and talk to one of the distillers and they'll tell you about how they make it and you'll learn some interesting things and get a little bit more understanding of how flavors happen. But while I was there, I got there and I think maybe because the guy heard that he knew that I was going to be throwing some money, they comped my wife and I 2 flights of samples. And one was, they poured us a bunch of different gins and they've got one that's a barrel aged gin. And I was just like, oh, you made a sale right here with that one. And I think that was when the money was no longer asked for. And then I asked, so I wanted to try out their gins because I was curious because they had one that's like a rosé gin and it's gin that's been I think it's got rosé grapes, like grape must added to it, and it's tasty, it's good. It's not my thing, but they also had the barrel aged one, which I didn't even ask for, didn't realize was there, and I tried that and I'm like, oh my god, that's really, really a good gin. But also they had this thing he was talking about. They call it Fire Puncher. And so essentially they source, and they're open about it. They source pure corn vodka, or it might even be pure corn grain alcohol from some other source. And they use that as the base for making their gin. For the gin, they put it in the bottom of the pot still, put a bunch of juniper and spices on that, and then redistill it. For their Fire Puncher, they take that corn vodka and they throw a whole bunch of chipotle chili peppers into it and distill that. And that's very interesting, very tasty. As you know, I make my own jalapeno vodka. Kind of similar idea, but my jalapeno vodka's got a lot of green vegetal. It's almost got like a little bit of a cilantro taste to it.
That's not the same stuff that almost killed TJ, right?
No, that was TJ made black pepper and he didn't follow the directions at all. And it didn't kill him. I think he liked it.
Yeah, put a little hair on his chest, but
he needs it. And
I'm sorry, TJ.
They've got, I mean it. You know I love you, but I mean it. We'll make a man out of you someday. But they have this stuff called Fire Puncher Black, and they label it as vodka. I'm not sure the legality of that because I would call this whiskey. is they take that aforementioned chipotle chili vodka and they put it in a used bourbon barrel with more chili peppers and cocoa nibs, and then they let it age for like a year, and so it gets suburban flavor from the bourbon. It gets some of that vanilla and honey flavor from the wood. And then on top of that, it's soaking up more of the chili peppers and it's getting much more like intense chili pepper flavors. And there's a dark chocolate flavor onto it. And it is outstanding. I mean, it's not for everybody, but oh my goodness, my mind was blown on this. And so I got a glass of it right now.
Excellent. So there's a link to that in the show notes. So with that, we'll head into the main topic, vaporware. So weird. This was kind of your idea.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I think I was watching a YouTube video talking about, I think they were talking about whiskey. I think it was a whiskey YouTube channel that I was watching, and they were just talking about like, if this, because legalities tend to do what you were making. And what popped in my head was back in, I think it was 2011, Taurus was making a big show of their Raging Judge 28. And that was a Taurus Raging Bull that was chambered in 28 gauge shotgun shells. And they unveiled it at SHOT Show. They had it at the NRA show that year. I think that was Houston. And so there was there it was this gigantic. I'm trying to remember if they actually let people handle it, or because I remember there was someone holding it, and it's like even bigger than a Smith & Wesson X frame. And there it was, and it's 28 gauge, which I believe is 55 caliber. And that was like the question is asked, and like they didn't have an answer of how do you get past the NFA for an over 50 caliber revolver? I'll have to ask somebody about that. And then the gun disappeared.
Looking at Guns, Holsters, and Gear, our friend Richard Johnson has a pretty big write-up on it. It's apparently Taurus. The model number was the M528. The gun could be interpreted either as a shotgun or a handgun, but not allowed to for sale to the general public. If the Raging Judge was determined to be a shotgun, the barrel length was well under the 18 inches required by law. If the gun was determined to be a handgun, the bore was greater than 0.50 inches and therefore prohibited as well.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it would be possible to have a 0.50 inch barrel that would act as a full-length choke for shot shells. While it would meet the bore requirement for a handgun, it would also further illustrate that the gun is more a shotgun than the pistol. After all, which handgun has a choke? And then there was a bunch of confusion because American Rifleman had something and nothing of the sort happened. Taurus had invited the BATFE to their booth for a sit down about the gun to ensure they made it in a way that would allow importation. It wasn't shown in public. And then in March of 2011, Bob Morrison, the then CEO of Taurus USA, said the gun was still in development. And then at the April 2011 NRA show, the gun wasn't on display. Taurus reps began saying the gun would not be manufactured, and that was pretty much it. No statement was ever given by the company on why the gun failed to enter production. In the end, it seems that the legal requirements were inflexible, and there was little Taurus could do to make the gun legal for sale in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to Richard, it never made it beyond the prototype phase.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to hear how they were somehow claiming that they were able to get around the ATF rules.
But the specs, Raging Judge, 28 gauge, 5-round capacity, 6.5 inch barrel, overall length of 13.75 inches, weight of 67 ounces.
It was gigantic.
Yeah. Yeah, the Taurus Raging Bull with a cylinder as long as a shotgun shell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cool, but massive.
It would also bring 28 gauge back to the limelight. There aren't that many of those floating.
Yeah, that's
around.
the thing. I don't know that I could go into my Walmart and find 28 gauge.
Oh, I'll bet you cash money you can't. I'll give you $200 right now if you could go into a Walmart and come out with a box of 28 gauge.
I don't know that I could go into my local gun store, which is pretty well stocked, and find 28 gauge.
I bet I could go into mine, but they've got a lot. Like there's a lot of Damascus barrel shotguns up on the rack there. So,
well, and like, do you have a lot of bird hunters in Massachusetts? Is 28 gauge a bird cartridge? I mean, I don't even know what 28 gauge. What
it's one of those ones of the. It's more of a like quote unquote gentleman's cartridge, so to speak. It's because when you get to all the different like gauges, all right, you've got like 12 gauge and you've got 20 gauge, and 20 gauge is like 12 gauge, but not as much.
No one's making 28 gauge buckshot.
Yeah.
Are they?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's making 28 gauge birdshot. I think what might be around is just what's still around.
Let's see. 28 gauge buckshot. The first thing that comes up, this does not bode well. Why doesn't anyone make a 28 gauge buckshot on a forum? 28 gauge ammo, cheaper than dirt. Let's see. Bird. Number 6 lead shot. Number 8 shot. Number 7.5. 7.5 is the lowest I see for 28 gauge.
I just went to I'm at ammo2go.com and I actually had to click the see all shotgun calibers to get them to display 28 gauge. And let's see, I've got number 6, number 8.
Poetry on a Cracker says no slugs in 28 gauge either.
Well, at least not solid slugs. You can use wax slugs.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that what Roger Moore used in View to a Kill? It's fine. It's fine. He used it, so it's good.
No, that was rock salt. Yeah.
No.
He didn't mean to.
They should just take her.
What's her face? Anyway. She had it loaded up with that.
She was annoying anyway. You should just let them take her. Oh, didn't see a thing.
All right, what do we go for next?
Oh, your favorite, the Magpul PDRC.
Sorry,
this isn't a handgun, but we're still talking about it.
I mean, these two. Let's talk about both of the quote unquote non-handguns because they're close enough to handguns. Because so the PDRC was designed as a 5.56 rifle. It's a bullpup, and it was designed to be like extremely compact so that it could be used by vehicle crews or protective details or other things like that, where essentially it was a concealable rifle or PDW. But the fact that it was in like most of the PDWs of this size, like say the FNP 90 or the HK MP7, they're all in like these little sub calibers that whether they work or not, we can argue. This one was in full-fledged rifle caliber, and yeah, it had like a neat, like the magazine release was like way forward. They had it so the controls were where you would think they should be for a either a pistol or a conventional rifle. I don't know how well it worked or not because it never ended up getting past the prototype phase. But I ended up doing the math, and I'm just looking right here. If I'm reading correctly on Wikipedia, it's actually really hard to find information on this, and I really didn't dive too deep to try to get. I know there's some spec sheets out there somewhere, but I believe, according to Wikipedia, what was it? PDRC? What do they call the compact?
PDRC.
The PDRC had a 10.5-inch barrel. And was they're just saying 19 inches overall in length. And so the idea of like if you putting a longer barrel onto it, like you would have to get it up to like close to 20 inches in barrel length. There'd have to be so much barrel length here for it to get to it wouldn't be quite to 20 inches, but you'd have to add at least on the whatever the 19-inch one was. I think it was. I think this is probably for they had a larger version as well, because I know it was one of those like, oh, just bring it up to a 16-inch barrel, put a little bit of an extra barrel hanging out of the front of it. Nope, that's not enough to get to the 26-inch length overall for something to not be an NFA item. Essentially, it was almost impossible for it to be not an NFA item.
God, I hope somebody like runs with this though, because it just looks. I mean, it looks just like a chassis. I mean, you could have any system underneath it.
Yeah,
as long as it would fit. But I mean, the chassis itself looks sleek. It has everything you need. I don't know. This is Handgun Radio, but we're talking about this thing.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it's small enough you could conceal it under an overcoat was the whole purpose.
Right.
So it is a rifle, but I mean but at the same time, it's the exact same size as a Browning high power with a shoulder stock. So yeah,
but the FMG 9 though is something that realistic. I mean, it kind of carries on the tradition of the Ares FMG way back in the day. I think Eugene Stoner had something to do with that. Way back in like the 60s and 70s, that folding machine gun concept. Back then, it was designed to look like a radio, but today it's like, it could look like a laptop or anything like that. But it has the carrying handle where you just kind of drop it and the whole thing opens up if you pull the lever as you like snap it down.
And this thing, I think that came out at the exact same time as the PDR, and this was before. I think this was before like even the invention of the whatever became the Sig Sauer pistol brace. And so I cannot imagine that this little gun, they couldn't modify it a little bit to have it turn into that thing that's the little nubbin off the back, because it's a super duper short shoulder stock if it is,
right,
to turn that into a pistol brace.
It's like, it's kind of like the same deal with those like Roni carbines, where you put a Glock up into that. Now imagine just being able to have that new folding Glock with this setup and being able to fold it up into a compact unit and using that pistol brace.
Yep. And again, just having it be concealed by the fact that when it is folded up and in its safe configuration, it doesn't look like a gun. It's kind of like those little what do they call them? A Sneaky Pete? Is that what I'm thinking about with the little, essentially it's a belt pouch that can hold a subcompact gun? Yeah. And so it looks like it might be a cell phone case or a multi-tool case or a something case. Who knows what it is, med kit. There's all sorts of things that will fit into like a little case like that, but nope, it's your pistol holster.
So real quick here, I don't have too much information on this, but one year when I was at NRA show, I got a text message talking about Pieta, the makers of all the black powder guns and all the Old West guns, supposedly remaking the Colt Python. I've seen pictures of it. I haven't seen much information on it. I don't believe that anything has happened with it, but there was a lot of hype around it. I'm pretty sure it was SHOT Show 2016. Apparently on the forums and pretty serious sources, apparently it's dead. Someone says that I asked Alessandro Pieta 2 years ago. He said it was not in production, didn't know if it ever would be, nothing since. It was quite obvious from the beginning that a Python reboot could not be produced to any acceptable quality levels and retail at $800, not even in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
So
they were actually claiming that they could sell it for $800.
That's all it says on the forum. I can't validate any of that, but the person that wrote that on the forum is someone who I would consider a pretty reliable source.
Yeah. You could make an 800, you can make a $500 revolver and call it a Colt Python and, put the rib on the top of it and do whatever you want, but it's not going to be of that Colt Python quality. But to make something up to the quality of a Colt Python, you're really looking at Korth prices.
Yes. Now, the one that I really find interesting, and I'm sure Daniel might write into this as well. Do you remember at all when Merwin and Hulbert, when there was a reproduction offered in like in the magazines, like you'd see it in the back of the magazines?
No, because I wasn't really aware of Merwin Holberts for such until very, very recently.
So back in the day, and I would love to talk to Mike Belleville about this because I think he might have had some dealings with this. Um, if you don't know, Merwin and Hulbert was a revolver company back in the Old West, and they made, just to kind of like skim over all the technological stuff with their revolvers, they had a very unique way of unloading the guns. Like the barrels would twist, and they were really, really nicely made, especially for the time. I mean, they're very well made. We saw one at the Cabela's Gun Library, actually. Yep. And just incredible craftsmanship and everything else. So supposedly there was a company that was coming along. I don't quite remember all the details, but I remember reading on the forums about it where people had put down deposits for these guns, like $200 or something like that. And after a while, it did not come to fruition. People were realizing, hey, I've spent the money and I'm not getting my product. Tried to get the money back. The money had been spent or something like that. The latest update I saw was June 18th, 2013. And this was from Mike, and it's on the forum. As most of you know, the company started by Mike Blank began taking orders and deposits 4 years ago, so from 2013. Skeptical, Mike Blank met with me at SHOT Show and showed me the actual parts they'd manufactured, explained 2 engineering challenges they had left to solve. 2 months later, a representative called to say me they'd have my gun in 8 weeks. I believed them, gave them a very healthy deposit. Skipped the next couple of years, all the phone calls, registered letters, and whatnot. And Mike told me he sold the company. There was no money. I'd never see a refund. And at that point, the guy says I wasn't even angry anymore because I'd resigned myself and I likely would not see them anyway. Out of the blue, I got an email from the new owner telling me his group was committed to refunding everyone's money. I didn't believe it until some forms came in the mail last month, which I completed. And today, lo and behold, a check came in the mail for the full amount of my deposit. So everybody got their deposits back. Apparently, the Sharps Rifle Company bought the person's rights or whatever he had, or the company before that, made sure everybody was all set. But for a long time, a lot of people were going to get screwed over, it seemed, by the whole venture. And it was unfortunate because the Merwin and Hulbert name really had nothing to do with this guy who was trying to reproduce it. So it was just, that name was unnecessarily like slandered or whatever the hell they call it. It was nice to see something other than a Colt single action army or a Remington being reproduced. I don't know.
But at the same time, and they're super duper cool guns.
They're way complicated though.
But they're way complicated, and it's one of those things of the really, really cool to have, but it's not a gun that you would reach for. And there's plenty of people. There are people that carry like single action armies, and there's definitely a lot of people that hunt with single action armies. But the Merwin Hulbert, there's a reason why the single action army is so popular.
It would just be cool to see like some of those older guns reproduced. Some of the stuff that is neglected. Everybody does the Remingtons, everybody does the Colts. Like, what about those? I see people do the Colt Lightnings and stuff, but they don't do them in double action.
Yep.
It's like, do them in double action. That's what they were originally. Don't do I don't want the single action version. If I want a single action Colt Lightning, I want to buy a single action Colt, SAA. Like,
yeah, but it's also at the same time, it's one of those like one of the guns that I thought I was talking to you about putting on the list was the Medusa revolver, and you're like, no, they they went into full production with those guns. Yeah, but they didn't make very many before
They
they went out of
make
business
yeah.
because really, really cool design, really, really neat revolver. Would I like one? Yes. Would I pay the amount of money they were charging for them? No.
Everybody talks about caliber conversions and how useful they are and how many people like them. But honestly, how often do people buy guns that are able to be caliber converted and just shoot one caliber on them?
Oh yeah, like a buddy of mine was talking about with the uh Ruger single sixes. His claim was no one has ever changed the cylinder on their single six. I know that's not true, but I certainly know a lot of single six owners who are very happy to have that other cylinder, and that other cylinder is factory new.
Right, exactly. And then the last real like significant one we have here before we wrap up, we also have one more after that. But the USFA Woodsman.
Mm-hmm.
For all of you people who don't remember, do you remember U.S. firearms before they became the bastardized version of the zip gun that they are now?
Oh yeah, they're the ones that made that zip gun. What were they making before that?
No, they were. Please, oh god, it pains me the fact that you even remember them as the ones who made that zip gun.
Ugh.
USFA used to make the finest single action armory replicas ever on the market. And then the owner decided to move on and make the zip gun.
Like you do.
Like you do. Yeah, USFA, US Firearms used to make some fantastic guns. At one point, they made a Colt 1905 replica. I think they made like 4 or 5 of them. And it was in a magazine article in 45 Auto. And they were supposed to make a Colt Woodsman reproduction. Apparently, it had been on Davidson's Gallery of Guns. I don't know if it was like a distributor or a dealer special somewhere. Never really took off. Nothing was ever heard more of it. But man, that would have been really cool for them to do. Because if they had done it, they would have done it right.
Yep.
I got to find that USFA 1905. Just the finest
1905 or 1908?
1905.
Okay.
Oh, what was it? It was a fantastic gun. They only did a few of them, but the quality was there. Of course, when I type in USFA semi-auto, all I get is a zip gun. God.
Semi-auto in name only. I've heard they're not very reliable. And are those things in like it was originally designed to be stuck to like underneath the rail of like your AR? Is that legal?
No,
I don't
it
think it
makes
is.
it
Yeah.
into an AOW, I believe.
Yeah. Or just a short barrel rifle.
But anyway, yeah. So USFA had a bunch of stuff that they were trying to plan on doing, and just kind of went by the wayside. For what I understand, from what I've heard, their owner was maybe a little bit eccentric. Maybe not a big gun guy or something like that. But unfortunate because they made really fantastic single action army clones.
Very cool.
And then finally, the Bren 10. It's kind of the Bren 10 magazines, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, just there was a bunch of people that got held up, like just never even got guns because they went out of business so quick, and so Bren 10 itself was kind of vaporware, though there were a whole bunch of guns that made it out into wild, though a whole lot less magazines than guns made it out in the wild. And also, I would argue that they were always promising that the Bren 10 could be quickly converted to 45 and would not need a 45 ACP magazine as part of the conversion, which was really kind of their big downfall.
I believe Moss talked about the 45 conversion, that it wasn't terribly great.
Yeah. But also it seems like every couple of years there's somebody that says, "Oh, we have the rights to the Bren 10. We're going to start producing Bren 10s." and they never materialize.
Yeah, from I was doing a little research. Apparently, Voltor, VLTOR, was going to do one. Then there was another company that wanted to do it under, like, was it Pergerine Falcon or something like that? All these bird names. What is it with the guns and bird names?
Yeah, I don't know. But was it like, well, Bren 10 has its basis in Gunsight, and that symbol is a falcon. So
See if we can't come up with the history here. Okay. Variants. Bren 10 Resurrection. After 1986, Dornhouse and Dixon closed. Richard Voigt purchased all intellectual and certain assets from the bankruptcy court.
is that the Voight from
VOIT? No.
Okay.
The entity eventually became Pergerine Industries. See right here, models included the Pergerine Falcon and Phoenix. They fell victim to the savings and loan scandals of the early 1990s. None were ever launched. And then in 2008, Viltor Weapons Systems of Tucson, Arizona, announced they'd be resurrecting the Bren 10 with the Viltor Fortis pistol. In 2009, they obtained the rights to use the Bren 10 name, and then they released a letter in 2015 stating that their efforts to produce the firearm had not met quality standards and they were still committed to the project. Going into 2016, on September 1st, 2017, no production guns are available and no projected release date is available.
Yep.
However, our friend Chuck Warner has released some pictures, and it says here on the Wikipedia page, the Elite Warrior Armament in August 2017 released pictures of a prototype with their version of the Bren 10. On December 21st, 2017, they began taking deposits with delivery anticipated in late 2018. Elite Warrior Armament, we've interviewed Chuck before. He's a fantastic pistol smith. If anybody can make it happen, is him. But it's not going to be on like a full production, hundreds and hundreds of guns coming off the line. Fantastic pistols, though. Keep an eye out on their Facebook page.
Yeah. I don't know if the market has a need for it. I mean, really, it seems like the 10 millimeter market's so heavily saturated that, and with not really all that much. Like,
I think Chuck will probably do maybe 50 or maybe 20 of them, 30 of them.
Because you got really it's Glock. What is it, like Colt with the Delta Elite, and there's a few other 1911 makers that make 10 millimeters, and you've got the EAA witnesses, and really other than that, there's not a ton of guns that are in 10 millimeter out there. And Glock, they've just got the 20, the 29, and now the new 40, which is long slide, which that seems to be like one of the big niches for 10 millimeter handguns, is people who are doing hog hunting.
We'll have to get Chuck back on and talk about his Bren 10 Resurrection.
Nice.
I'm in frequent contact with him, so. And Snarky, by the way, says Gunsight is a Raven. Weird. So.
Oh, is it a Raven? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends and leave us a review on iTunes. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network. And Weird, where can people find you?
You can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com, and my podcast, which is the Assorted Calibers Podcast.
And thank you so much again for coming on. And there's links to all your stuff in the show notes.
Well, thanks for having me.
And until next week, have fun and safe shooting.